If you're able to actually manually go through and change any of these times, so what I did when I was creating the official Warrior Run times was go through and look at the tape and the bibs. So I went through and actually typed in some of these numbers. So for instance, if I knew that this number was 5 seconds off, you can go through here and change this by hand, and then that will automatically adjust the elapsed time, I think. And then, so when you run your report, that will reflect that adjustment. And so what you can do then is you can save this database, I think, under a different name. And so you can do yes, save. And so, right, so when you save this, every single time you save, it's going to ask you what you want to save that name as. So you could save this, before you could have saved that as the unofficial results. And so you could have changed this one after you start manipulating it. You could change that as under a different file name. So you could save the first version as unofficial results or original results. And then after you start manipulating to make sure you have you know, the original copy. So if you start manipulating it and people want to see what the original copy was, you can always have that to look at. I think it's generally a good idea to make sure that all the age and division things are always filled in, because then when you run your reports, there's never going to be any invalid age or gender entries. So for these, some of these you'll see, like what I did for me was just to put in like 90 for all of the people that we didn't know their ages, because we weren't doing any age division awards. So I just put in 90, so I knew that was obviously wrong. But if we were going to in the future do any age division awards, we would need to figure out what all of those people's ages were. At the bottom down here, there are a bunch of other features, which at the moment I don't know really how to use, like reassigning bib numbers or swapping finish times, swapping 2 bibs. So that would be something that you would want to look into in the future. There is something that we could talk about a little bit. Back behind here, there's a button that says set start times. In there, there is something that says this is where you can go ahead and set your start time to whatever you want it to be. So you can set your start time here, whatever you want it to be. So let's say you wanted it to be 8 o'clock exactly. You could type that in here. But this is what you really want to look at right there, which is where it says update elapsed time using new start time. So if you click this button and then you do save and update and then hit OK, then quit, that will go ahead and update all of your elapsed times here. So let's say that you had so let's say that you had put a start time here. So see, look, that updated our start times, and then that changes all our elapsed times here now to 21 hours. So maybe you had put a start time, but then you didn't click that little box. So your elapsed times were all wrong, or maybe the elapsed time was 0, but you didn't want to go through and manually calculate all the elapsed time. So you needed to go through, and again, that was right here with the set start time and this little box right there. You need to make sure that that's checked, so you need to update the elapsed start time. Another way, if you want to capture start time, the difference between these two things is this one allows you the set start time and the capture start time. The capture start time, it allows you to set the time. It allows you to set the start time just like the other one, but this one allows you to start now. So that just resets the start race time to exactly right now. So if you had someone sitting at the computer and the guy blows the gun or sets the gun off, you could just click the mouse and immediately start the clock. So maybe it's 8 a.m., 12 minutes and 13 seconds. And you could just start the time right then. And it's not 8 a.m. on the dot.
But to do that, you do have to have that set start or capture start time up when the race is starting.
Yes.
Okay.
So it would be start now. But let's say you missed that and somebody doesn't do that, you can always, even after the race starts, you could do start time now. I mean, right now, I just set the start time for 1 o'clock, 1:57. I mean, so I just changed the time of this race just right now. So, I mean, you could set the start time anytime you want.
Okay.
So, regardless of, like, when, you just need to make sure that somebody sets the start time sometime.
Okay.
Basically, before they cross the finish line, I think, is the main thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have other questions about how this runner database works? So you could have 2 separate spreadsheets, one for the Warrior Run, and one for Imagine Grinnell event, and all the data will be saved for both. You'll just need to make sure that you load the correct database here from this load database spot.
And we can
and then just make sure that you
use the
save
same
it.
exact bib numbers. We could, but because
Yes.
they're 2 different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But you can only load between 0 and 500
Bib numbers.
bib
Yes.
numbers.
Yes. Okay.
Unless you're going to get creative on how you mark them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, unless you know that 757 is actually going to be 257 in the runner database. Yeah.
I think something different for next year when we order bibs with Craig, we need to say